With a new release, The Ghosts of Salt Marsh, you're going to need a new ship and a new crew. We've got the perfect thing to help you out. Enter Blood, Salt, and Bones.
Welcome everyone, I'm Sean, this is Tony, and today we're going over the Ghosts of Salt Marsh supplement, Blood, Salt, and Bones.
Ahoy!
And this one's really cool because it actually adds a lot of different ships, crews, and other things that you can kind of supplement the supplement for Ghosts of Salt Marsh. Now this one is from Christopher Walls, but there are a couple of several other authors that are involved. You can go ahead and check it out in the link below to visit it at DMSGUILD.com.
Absolutely. Now let's get into this one because this one's actually really meaty. It's 105 pages.
105 pages. There's a lot of content. A lot of it's the same. There's 24 brand new ships that you can add, each with its own stat block, attacks, features, all that stuff. And you even get full crew members that match the same theme of that exact ship.
Now, this is really good if you're looking for particular characters for your ship or to create a ship of your own. But it's also great when you're sailing the high seas and you have a bunch of other ships that are out there and you need to come up with one on the fly that your players have encountered on their ship.
Yes, precisely. Now, Ghosts of Salt Marsh is book content. However, that other stuff in the back of the book where you can actually grab the ship stuff, you can actually splash in pretty much any homebrew campaign.
Right, exactly. That's just the reason why we're reviewing and the reason why we're doing this one. Now, the thing I really love about this is for each ship that comes up, it gives us a description that you can read to your players for how they see it.
Yeah.
So I want you to read this description.
Yeah, so I'll say first we're going over the Crimson Conch. Now, this is basically a crab holding up a ship, which is really freaking cool. So the description is beautiful. At first, you mistake the ship for one that has taken heavy damage. A single mast reinforced for structure is the only vertical mount you can make out. She rides low in the water as though held by a heavy cargo. A ramshackle building sits as far as back as possible, obviously added on as an afterthought. The front of the ship is mostly immersed in the water, but the deck looks like it's been stained a bright red. Once the ship sails closer, you notice the decks aren't just red, but chitinous. The entire forward half of the ship is a gigantic sea creature, a crab of immense size. Two large claws draw the ship forward, speedily moving through the water. Large sheets of metal have been strapped to the outer shell of the creature, granting it additional armor. Now, this is great because you kind of get these descriptions when you're running an adventure, but you get these for a lot of the different ships.
Yeah, pretty much every ship in this. I think there's a few of them that don't have it, but each one gives you this very, very stylized way to introduce the ship. The moment you read that one, the only thing I was thinking is get the garlic butter.
Right.
Thought,
and get that water a little warm, too, if anything.
Yeah, you don't need to, just boil the water and off you go.
Yeah.
But the Crimson Conch has some great things on there. So you've got what do you got? You not only its capacity is only 20, it's 20 crew, 10 passengers. So it's not a huge ship.
No, it's not terribly huge. The feature that you want to use this for is the fact that it's a huge crab. It actually has crab claws as extra weapons besides some of the ballistas that you normally get. And then the other thing that I'll mention really quick is that they actually offer drawings for pretty much every single L24 of the ships that are featured here. The one for the Crimson Conch is great. It's just like you get a picture of the boat,
and then
the crab.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And it's really cool because it helps you kind of re-envision what these ships would look like. I love the Crimson Conch because you can kind of imagine the half of the ship basically is acting as a shell. Like that's back half of the
I mean it's what is it 15 AC or something like that on it too. So that I should mention that every single one of these is compatible with the ships in Salt Marsh.
Yeah.
Every single one. It's written so that you could just swap these ships out.
Exactly. So it is important to read through the appendix for Ghosts of Salt Marsh. That way you know how all the ships work and how the mechanics are. But essentially, once you have that down pat, you can implement any of these ships into that content and kind of rework them however you need to.
But that's not all. The ship doesn't just describe the ship. It also describes the people that are on the ship.
Exactly.
Like Captain Krellos.
Yes, Captain Krellos, a stern yet fair human male. Is kind of an older guy, but he's actually a drow house captain, and it's kind of cool. They actually, if you kind of need a stat block for him, you can use the drow house captain from the Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
Yep.
There are a couple of other NPCs that might not be able to be found in a book, but thankfully in the book themselves, they actually add some stat blocks if there's like a spellcaster on the ship, or if there's like a monster on the ship. They actually give you those statistics, which really kind of add in case you like fight them or if you need to use them in battle.
Right. For example, his first mate's a druid.
Yeah, exactly. And then
It's always good to have a druid on board.
of course, it never hurts, and
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense, on a crab ship. That kind of is very fitting. But it's really cool that every single ship basically gets their own themed crew. That's actually awesome because I know some people you might be struggling to figure out who would be on this ship or what kind of NPCs would run into.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a lot of the prep work out of what you're going to do, and of course, I really like the randomness of it.
Yeah,
Like to be able to come up with a ship on the fly, which kind of goes into what we're doing now with the section on the crew.
Yeah, so near the end of the content, there's a couple of very useful tables that you can roll on. The first one called Motley Crew. So this one, you roll on a D100, and you can actually pull up random NPCs, whether they're on another ship, whether you want to add them to your crew, or whether or not there's something else completely different. You can actually pull up random seafaring themed NPCs to kind of toss in there. For example, there's like one Green-Skinned the Nameless is a half-orc gladiator. And he has like a full description. He has like his characteristics and things like that, and you can kind of toss him in if you want like that kind of character in your campaign.
Right, exactly. I really enjoy this only because it assists the DM in coming up with things that may come up on the fly. I know that sometimes you'll plot out, your players. You're going to plot out a ship that they're going to meet up with, and they're going to go the opposite direction. And you can either throw the same ship at them, but if it doesn't make sense for the area that they're in, now you have to come up with something like that.
Exactly.
And this allows you to just roll a couple die, and you can go from there. But there is also gear. There's also stuff that you need for this ship.
Yeah, that ship is not going to run on the hull by itself. So there's a nice little chart that they have. So if you kind of want to add extra things that you can purchase, like for your ship, like for example, captain's bottle, an anchor, hammocks, light preservers,
pins.
Exactly. All of that is basically covered with price and weight in the sailing gear chart there. So that's pretty nice.
And it also gives a little description of each thing there, so if you know exactly what they're for and what they do. That's very important too. Who knows what linseed oil is used for on a ship?
I sure don't.
No.
And then finally, to end things off, they have a random ship and crew generator. So if you're completely out of kind of ideas at the bottom of the barrel, you can roll a d20 on a random ship, and you can roll a d20 on a random captain. And this is actually kind of neat because now if you're kind of out there and venturing around, if you're completely out of ideas, you can kind of just make a brand new crew and adventure right on the fly.
Yep, that's what this thing is. The best thing about this is that it just kind of uses that.
Yeah.
And there is so much in here that it's hard to go over everything that's there, but
Yes.
it is really well put together. It's doing very, very well on the DM's Guild. And I do recommend picking this up if you're running a Salt Marsh campaign. It's something you can utilize to make your campaign just a little bit better.
Yeah, or if you happen to be running a homebrew campaign where it's seafaring themed, or if you just want to add ships, this has a lot of bang for your buck. Considering what you're paying for, you get the 24 ships, you get the random tables and the items and all the different NPCs. It's definitely a good value to add to any campaign, whether it's book content or homebrew.
Yep, so 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up from us here at the home. Oh, I guess that's 3. That's 3
You can do 4
enthusiastic.
if you'd like. I can
Okay,
give
right.
you 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. It's a very well-made thing. So if you have something you'd like to send us, definitely do that. You can send it here at dmbrewcrew@gmail.com. Remember to like, subscribe down here in the corner, little red box that's down there. That always helps us out. We've got a lot of people now subscribing. We're almost up to 1,100 subscribers,
which is crazy. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. And a very special thank you to our Patreons.
Yes, to anyone that is already supporting us on Patreon, we are truly grateful. All the money helps going to support our equipment, reviewing content, and things that are basically for the channel. If you would like to help support us, every dollar helps. You can go down below and pick a tier, and we greatly appreciate it.
Not to mention a little sneak peek behind the scenes stuff that we actually go through.
Yeah.
And our fabled session 0 that's coming very soon.
Which would soon be exclusive only to Patreon, so
That's
you
true.
should be able to check that out. And speaking of the stream, we have one every other week.
Yes, it's every other Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, featuring your homebrew content directly on the stream.
Exactly.
So remember, the best campaigns are always the ones that are homebrewed. So until next time,
Keep brewing.